Joining me are Talk TV contributor Esther Krakau and political journalist Ava Santina, plus editor-at-large of the New York Post, Sara Nathan, and Dr. Martin Luther King's niece, Alveda King. Well, welcome to all of you. What a stellar lineup. How are you all? Happy New Year, before we get any further. Let me start with Alveda King, if I may. Alveda, we now learn today from Prince Harry's interview with ITV, actually, that there was never any intention in that Oprah Winfrey interview to suggest that the royal family had been racist. Now, am I living in cloud cuckoo land, or did I hear actually the complete opposite in that Oprah Winfrey interview?
I think you heard exactly what you heard, and we've had this conversation about race before. So the big problem is, it seems as though England had a British queen before that was part African. Her name was Beatrice. Now, the other point, there's one race, the human race. So there's no biracial or mixed race. There's just human beings. That's a scientific fact and a spiritual fact. So everybody needs to come off of this arguing about the race issue. And so if somebody wanted to know what complexion the baby would be pretty. That's the name of the complexion. It doesn't matter the skin hue, because there's one human race.
No, but okay,
so I think
okay, but Alveda,
exactly
let me just interrupt there and say, my specific question is, when Oprah Winfrey pushed Meghan Markle to say, was there concern about the colour of your unborn baby's skin, with a suggestion that if it was too dark, that would be a problem, and she agreed, that surely is a charge of racism. It's nothing else, right?
It's a charge of racism. And so I think Harry and Meghan need to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. I wrote my own story many years ago and showed it to my family first and my friends, and they said, you can't write that. I said, it's true. Well, you can't write it. So I had God encounters and therapy, and relax and breathing exercises. And then I wrote a book called King Rules that became a bestseller. So Harry and Meghan are traumatized. They need to be healed.
I'm traumatized by Harry and Meghan.
Trauma.
I'm sorry.
Well, you need to be healed too, I guess.
They've got no right to be traumatized. They're the ones doing all the attacking and bullying for 2 years now.
Hurt people do hurtful things.
They're not hurt. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, money doesn't solve pain.
Clearly.
Not really.
Clearly,
now,
because Harry
with
still...
what they're doing?
Yeah, but Alveda, clearly it doesn't, because Harry still looks utterly miserable. Let me go to Sara Nathan.
Well, what I'm saying, they need
Alveda,
healing.
I'll come back to you in a moment.
Help.
I'll come back to you. I just want to talk to Sara Nathan about the American anglers. I've just done a column for the New York Post, basically just taking on Harry the hypocrite, frankly, this Prince of Privacy who's now invaded everyone's privacy when it suits him. What is the reaction, though, in America? I keep hearing conflicting reports that people are with them, they're against them. Is it mixed? What percentage do you think of Americans are falling for this guff?
Hi, by the way. I think what is very interesting is that Americans in general love emotions. They love a redemption. They love, opening your guts on national TV, which is what they did on Oprah. And I think they fall for this a lot more than Brits do. And having lived here for 10 years, I can safely say that. But I think what's interesting now is we're starting to see a little turnaround in the feelings about Harry and Meghan. The sympathy that a lot of Americans had is slightly dissipating. What's really interesting is that last week Jimmy Kimmel did like the Warring Princes, and he had two actors dressed up as the musician prince, and they were like meant to be William and Harry. And then even the bastion of journalism, New York Times this afternoon, are saying, is this enough? Has he gone too far? Which you just wouldn't normally hear.
Right. I mean, I don't think it'll ever. I don't think it'll ever
really
be
interesting.
Enough. Let's bring in Ava and Esther. I mean, you've been sitting here patiently watching this show. Esther, first of all, I mean, this race thing is not a trivial thing.
Yeah.
These two branded the royal family racist and gave specific examples, one of which was instantly discounted, that Archie hadn't been made a prince because of his potential skin colour. And the other story now has completely fallen apart, with Harry saying we didn't intend to suggest it was racist.
Well, yeah, and I think that they're almost gaslighting the British public, because they're saying it's the British tabloids that said it and that implied it, and then we're all just a bunch
as if we didn't watch it with our own eyes and ears.
And we just went along with it like we don't have brain cells and we can't see. And look, I said that if someone said that to me, if I had a mixed race child, they were concerned about the colour of the skin, obviously you can say that's clearly racist. So I'm like, why would you make that Why would you make that statement and then come back and say, oh, actually, but
They said it would be hugely damaging to the person who said it if they ever named them. It was
So
quite
but
clear.
it's brand the royal family.
Ava, putting aside your natural love of all things royal, but this actually was a direct attack on the royal family, which reverberated around the world, caused a lot of problems, particularly in America, particularly in the Commonwealth. You know, Caribbean countries, a lot of unrest when they went on tour there as a result of this suggestion they're a bunch of racists.
Yeah, Hugh. I mean, I don't understand the dial back at all, going back to unconscious bias. I think that is an objectively racist thing to say, what that family member allegedly said. I don't know why you dial back. The other accusation that he's levelled is that Camilla has been in cahoots with the press, has been leaking and smearing stories about Meghan and himself. Is he going to dial back on that too? Because that's a really serious allegation.
And by the way,
as well.
I've known Camilla a long time. I know her well. She's never once briefed me about anything. I don't believe she ever does that. It's Harry and Meghan who employed a team called Sunshine something or other, some PR firm in America, to spin everything. They got their mate Omid Scobie, or Rabies as I call him, who writes whatever they tell him in his books, right? What's the difference?